Okay, so I know you're probably hearing holiday cheer like everywhere you turn right now, but on this deep dive, we're going to explore something a little bit different. We're going to talk about nostalgia.
Hmm.
And actually, we're partnering with the American Psychological Association for this one. We're going to be using their research to try to answer a question. So we all know that nostalgia feels good, right?
Yep.
But is it actually good for us? And the science seems to say yes. And we're going to uncover some really fascinating findings about this. So can nostalgia really help combat loneliness? Can it actually make us more optimistic about the future? And are there any downsides to all those warm fuzzy feelings? Let's find out.
It's interesting how often nostalgia comes up this time of year. The
Mm.
holidays are just full of traditions and family gatherings, so it naturally kind of prompts that reflection on past holidays and memories and things. But the potential benefits of nostalgia aren't limited to December.
Right. Yeah, any time can be a trigger for those memories, right? Speaking of triggers, the article mentions a pretty startling statistic. Nearly 25% of adults globally report feeling lonely. That's a huge number.
It is.
Can nostalgia really make a difference when it comes to something as complex as loneliness?
It might sound surprising, but research suggests that nostalgia can actually be a really powerful tool in combating loneliness. When we tap into those warm, fuzzy memories, we're often revisiting feelings of connection and belonging. It's like a mental shortcut back to a time when we felt loved and supported.
So it's not just about wistfully looking back on the good old days. It can actually help us be more social in the present.
Exactly. Nostalgia provides this sense of continuity in our lives. It reminds us of those relationships that matter most. And it can even boost our confidence to reach out to others.
I can definitely relate to that. When I hear certain songs from my childhood, I get this urge to call up old friends and reminisce.
That makes sense. The article highlights a study from the Human Flourishing Lab that really gets at this connection between nostalgia and our values. They found that a whopping 84% of people said nostalgic memories remind them of what's truly important in life.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's like nostalgia gives us this internal compass pointing us back to our core values.
Precisely. And that same study found that nostalgia can act as a source of comfort and inspiration during difficult times. It reminds us of our resilience and the strength we've drawn on in the past.
The article even quotes Dr. Routledge saying nostalgia actually helps people move forward. I'm curious, how does looking back help us move forward?
It's all about perspective. Nostalgia can actually boost our optimism about the future because it reminds us of our past successes. Kind of reinforces this idea that we've overcome challenges before and we can do it again.
So it's like a reminder of our own strength. The article also mentions that nostalgia is especially beneficial for older adults.
That's right. As we age, reflecting on a life full of meaningful moments can really enhance life satisfaction. And those nostalgic memories can help us to really appreciate the richness of our experiences.
That makes sense. But the article isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It also acknowledges that the holidays can be stressful and not all memories are positive ones. So I'm curious, is there a downside to nostalgia?
That's a crucial point. Not all nostalgia is created equal. Dwelling on negative memories can lead to what researchers call excessive nostalgia, which can actually be harmful to our mental health. It's really about finding a healthy balance.
So how can we be sure we're using nostalgia in a healthy way? What are the signs that we might be tipping into that excessive nostalgia territory?
The article offers 3 key tips for harnessing nostalgia's power in a positive way. Focus on positive memories, reminisce without obsessing, and make it a social activity. Let's break those down a bit further.
I'm all ears. I'm especially curious about what the research has to say about focusing on the positive. Is it really as simple as choosing to remember the good times?
It might sound simplistic, but there's real science behind the power of positive memories. Research suggests that when we engage in nostalgia, it activates areas of the brain associated with reward and positive emotions, like the ventral tegmental area. Choosing to focus on positive memories essentially allows us to tap into this reward system and experience those feel-good benefits more intensely.
That's fascinating. So instead of getting bogged down in the negative, we can actively choose to re-experience those moments that brought us joy and strength. It's like choosing to revisit that amazing vacation spot in your mind, not the time you got stuck at the airport for hours, right?
Exactly. It's about consciously curating our nostalgic experiences. We have the power to choose which memories we revisit,
Mm.
and by focusing on the positive, we can maximize the emotional and psychological benefits.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But what about avoiding obsession? Where do we draw the line between healthy reminiscing and getting stuck in the past?
That's an important question. A little reminiscing is great. But if you find yourself constantly wishing you were back in the good old days or feeling like the best years of your life are behind you, that's a sign that nostalgia might be taking on an unhealthy role in your life.
So it's about appreciating the past without letting it overshadow the present. How do we make sure we're not letting nostalgia take over?
The article suggests that instead of dwelling on the past, we should use it as a guide for the future. Look back on those positive memories, figure out what made them so meaningful, and see how you can bring those elements into your life today.
I see. So it's not about trying to recreate the past exactly, but rather using it as inspiration for building a fulfilling present and future. I'm also curious about this idea of making nostalgia a social activity. Why is sharing those memories so important?
Sharing those memories with others, whether it's through storytelling, looking at old photos, or even recreating old traditions together, amplifies the positive effects. It creates a shared experience that strengthens bonds and deepens those feelings of connection. It's like those shared experiences create a deeper sense of connection and belonging.
I love that. It reminds me of how good it feels to gather with family during the holidays and reminisce about past celebrations. Sharing those stories and laughing together always strengthens those bonds.
Exactly. And it reinforces the idea that we're not alone in our memories. Others have shared those experiences with us. And that can be incredibly powerful, especially when it comes to combating feelings of loneliness or isolation.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I think we often underestimate the power of nostalgia.
It's true. We tend to think of it as a purely sentimental emotion, but there's so much more to it than that. It can be a powerful tool for boosting our mental well-being, navigating life's challenges, and connecting with what truly matters.
It's a tool for self-discovery, for building resilience, for strengthening relationships, and even for shaping our future. But as we've discussed, it's important to be mindful of how we're using it.
Absolutely. Let's savor those warm memories, but let's also use them to fuel our well-being and inspire us to move forward with hope and gratitude.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Now, the article also mentions the potential downsides of nostalgia, especially when it comes to dwelling on negative experiences. I'm curious to explore that further.
Yeah, it's true that focusing too much on negative past experiences can have the opposite effect of what we've been discussing. Instead of boosting our mood and our outlook, it can actually kind of drag us down and even contribute to feelings of anxiety or depression.
That makes sense. It's like choosing to dwell on a painful memory rather than a joyful one. But how do we know when we've crossed that line from healthy reminiscing to unhealthy rumination?
Well, there are a few key signs to watch out for. If you find yourself feeling overwhelmed by sadness or regret or bitterness when you think about the past, or if those memories are interfering with your ability to enjoy the present moment or plan for the future, that might be a time to reevaluate your relationship with nostalgia.
So if those nostalgic feelings start to feel more like a burden than a comfort, it could be a sign that we need to shift our focus. What are some strategies we can use to manage those negative nostalgic experiences?
One helpful strategy is to practice mindfulness when those negative memories arise. Instead of being swept away by the emotions, try to observe them with a sense of detachment. Acknowledge the pain or regret you're feeling, but don't let it consume you.
So it's about creating some distance between ourselves and those difficult memories. Is there anything else we can do to prevent those negative memories from taking over?
Absolutely. Another powerful tool is reframing. Try to find a different perspective on the past experience. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, can you identify any lessons you learned or any ways you grew as a result of that experience?
I see. It's about finding the meaning or the silver lining in those challenging moments. It's like saying, okay, this wasn't a great experience, but it taught me something valuable that I can carry with me.
Exactly. And sometimes it can be helpful to talk to someone you trust about those difficult memories. Sharing your experiences with a friend, family member, or therapist can help you process those emotions and gain a fresh perspective.
That makes a lot of sense. Sometimes just talking it out can help us make sense of those experiences and release some of that emotional weight. I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, the idea that nostalgia can help older adults find greater meaning and satisfaction in their lives. I'm curious to learn more about the research in this area.
There's a fascinating body of research that suggests that engaging in nostalgia can be particularly beneficial for older adults. As we age, it's natural to reflect on our lives and try to make sense of our experiences. Nostalgia can help us do just that.
It's like piecing together the puzzle of our lives, finding those connections between the past and the present.
Precisely. And research has shown that for older adults, reminiscing about positive memories can lead to a greater sense of purpose and meaning. which in turn can enhance their overall well-being and even improve their physical health.
Wow, I didn't realize the impact to be that profound.
Hmm.
Are there any specific techniques or practices that older adults can use to tap into the benefits of nostalgia?
One technique that's been shown to be effective is called life review. This involves reflecting on key events and relationships throughout one's life, focusing on the positive aspects and extracting valuable lessons.
So it's like taking a mental inventory of all the good stuff and using those memories to fuel a sense of gratitude and accomplishment.
Exactly. And life review can be done individually or in a group setting. Sharing those memories with others can add another layer of richness and meaning to the experience.
I imagine that can also help combat feelings of isolation, which, as we discussed earlier, can be a challenge for some older adults.
Absolutely. The social aspect of nostalgia is incredibly important, regardless of age. It reminds us that we're part of a larger narrative, a tapestry of shared experiences and connections that stretches across generations.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Now, I want to shift gears a bit and talk about the concept of updating traditions, something the article mentions, as a way to make nostalgia more relevant to our lives today. What are some examples of how we can do this?
Well, Dr. Rowledge uses a great example in the article. He talks about his family's tradition of making cinnamon rolls. His wife has a dairy allergy, so they've adapted the recipe to make it work for them.
I love that. It's like honoring the tradition while also making it relevant to their lives today.
It's a perfect illustration of how we can bridge the gap between the past and the present. It's about finding creative ways to adapt those cherished traditions so they continue to bring us joy and meaning in our modern lives.
So instead of rigidly clinging to the past, we can find ways to make those traditions evolve and grow with us. What are some other examples of how we can breathe new life into those old rituals?
Think about family recipes. Maybe there's a dish that your grandmother used to make that you absolutely loved. But perhaps it's not the healthiest option, or maybe it involves ingredients that are hard to find these days. Why not experiment with the recipe? Try substituting healthier ingredients or putting a modern twist on the presentation.
It's like taking the essence of that tradition and reimagining it for a new generation. It's a way to keep those memories alive while also creating new ones.
And it's a great way to involve younger family members in the process. They can learn about those cherished traditions while also contributing their own ideas and creativity.
That's a wonderful way to foster those intergenerational connections and keep those family stories alive. And it's not just about food. We can update any kind of tradition. Maybe there's a family game that you used to play that's become a bit outdated. Why not find a modern equivalent or come up with your own variation on the rules?
The possibilities are endless. It's all about finding ways to make those traditions feel fresh and relevant to your life today.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I think we've really shed light on the multifaceted nature of nostalgia. It's not just a sentimental journey into the past. It's a powerful force that can shape our present and our future in profound ways.
It's about recognizing the value of our past experiences and using them to create a more meaningful and fulfilling present.
And as we head into the holiday season, a time when nostalgia is naturally heightened, it's a great reminder to be mindful of how we're using it. Let's savor those warm memories, but let's also use them to fuel our well-being and inspire us to move forward with hope and gratitude.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
As we wrap up our deep dive into nostalgia, I'm struck by how much more there is to this emotion than meets the eye. It's not just about like fuzzy feelings or warm memories. It's really about understanding the power of the past to shape our present and our future.
Yeah, I think that's a really important takeaway from our conversation today.
Yeah.
Nostalgia isn't just a passive experience.
Yeah.
It's something we can actively engage with and use to our advantage.
Right. And as we head into the holiday season, a time when those nostalgic feelings are often amplified, it's a great opportunity to kind of put what we've learned into practice.
Absolutely. Whether it's revisiting cherished traditions or connecting with loved ones or simply taking a moment to reflect on those special memories, nostalgia can add this layer of richness and meaning to our holiday experiences.
Yeah, it's like a gift we can give ourselves, a little boost of joy and connection, especially during what can often be a hectic and stressful time of year.
And it's a gift that keeps on giving. The insights we gain from reflecting on the past, they can help us navigate the challenges of the present and set intentions for the future.
So instead of just getting swept up in the holiday whirlwind, we can use this time to consciously tap into the power of nostalgia.
Exactly. Make it a point to reminisce with loved ones. Share those old stories, look through photo albums, or even recreate some of those beloved traditions.
I love that idea. It's about making nostalgia an active part of our holiday celebrations, rather than just a fleeting feeling.
And it's a great way to strengthen those bonds with family and friends, create new memories, and build a sense of continuity across generations.
Now, before we go, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to ponder.
Okay.
What specific memory comes to mind when you think of the word nostalgia, and what can you learn from revisiting that memory today?
Hmm, that's a good question.
Maybe it'll spark a sense of joy, maybe it'll offer a bit of guidance, or maybe it'll simply remind you of how far you've come.
Yeah, whatever that memory is, hold on to it. Let it be a source of strength and inspiration as you navigate the year ahead.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into nostalgia. We hope you've gained some new insights into this powerful emotion and how you can harness it to enhance your well-being.
Remember, nostalgia is more than just a sentimental journey into the past. It's a valuable tool for self-discovery, connection, and growth.
Until next time, happy reminiscing.